protagonist is a hearing girl named Ruby. Her father, mother, and brother are all deaf, and she's the only one in the family who can hear. Since she was a child, Ruby has accompanied her father out to sea, to fish, and by her teenage years, she had already become an impressive little fisherwoman. Even when her parents needed to see a doctor, she had to be their interpreter. Picture this, her parents making bold, exaggerated gestures to describe their private medical problems to the doctor, using hand signs to compare things to barnacles or boiling lobsters. The straightforward and outrageous gestures left the teenage Ruby wishing she could gouge out her own eyes, on the spot from sheer embarrassment. Despite how busy Ruby was, her family still insisted she go to school. But as a new high schooler, things weren't going well for her. While other kids could wake up at 7, she had to get up at 3 every morning to help with fishing, and by the time she was in class, she was constantly exhausted, and on the verge of dozing off. Because of her hectic schedule, she often didn't have time to change clothes before rushing to school. Unfortunately, smelling of fish wasn't something her peers sympathized with. In fact, many classmates ostracized her. Some of them, knowing she was from a deaf family, would mock her by imitating deaf voices and ridiculing her parents. A hearing girl growing up in a deaf family needs to have an incredibly strong heart. Ruby did. But after enduring years of bullying, she inevitably developed deep insecurities. She had a crush on a boy, but never dared to talk to him. What she didn't know was, he secretly liked her too. He quietly signed up for the same choir Ruby joined just to be near her. On the first day of choir, the teacher asked everyone to sing, but Ruby was so nervous she couldn't open her mouth, and ended up running out of the classroom in embarrassment. The next day, Ruby went to apologize to the teacher alone. When he learned she came from a deaf family, he understood how hard things had been for her, and encouraged her to keep singing. In the second class, the teacher noticed the whole class was half-heartedly singing, so he deliberately called Ruby out in front of everyone to sing solo. Hearing her strained, tight voice, the teacher decided to give her a vocal warm-up, having her practice puppy panting. At first, Ruby thought the teacher was messing with her and felt awkward doing such a silly exercise. But then the teacher had the entire class join in. Once everyone looked ridiculous together, Ruby's awkwardness finally melted away. The teacher asked her to sing again, and this time, a voice like gold burst forth. When the song ended, the teacher smiled approvingly, and even the classmates were amazed. That was the first time Ruby sang openly in front of others, and after class, the teacher even invited her to rehearse a duet with her crush. Turns out, when you bravely become yourself, fate quietly comes to find you. Ruby gradually blended into the choir, made friends, and started smiling more. The teacher grew increasingly impressed with her talent, and even invited her to audition for a top music college in the big city. Ruby, who had never left her small town, hesitated. The teacher guided her to ask herself, "What does singing mean to you?" Ruby couldn't express it in words, so she used her mother tongue, sign language, to explain that singing was the window to her soul. When the teacher saw this pure, passionate love for music, he promised to personally coach her every day for the audition. However, such good news didn't receive support from her family, not because they looked down on her dreams, but because, having never heard sound themselves, how could they possibly recognize their daughter's singing talent through sign language alone? One day, Ruby brought her crush home to rehearse their duet in her room. They felt awkward face to face, so they tried singing back to back. Unexpectedly, their hearts gradually drew closer. But before romance could spark, an awkward sound came from the next room. Turns out, Ruby's parents were doing things next door.